Ready? Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Parenting with a Purpose. I am your host, Donna Janelle, where I aim to bring back the responsibility, nobility, and beauty back into parenting. Parenting is not for the weak. I say it every week. Parenting is not for the weak. I repeat it for the people in the back. Parenting is not for the weak. It's a hard knock life out here for parents, and it's challenges in every stage of parenting. But we get through it, right? We get through it. I'm gonna say it again. We get through it somehow, some way. We end up, doing what we have to do, no matter what goes up around us. I think it's so important for us to talk about, what's going on in our society today with our kids. How do we help each other, encourage and motivate each other, inspire each other to be the best parent we could possibly be? I don't think no parent wakes up and figure out, listen, I don't really want to be a parent today. I mean, wait, hold up. That's a lie. Because sometimes I'm ready to throw in the flag. Sometimes I'm ready to throw in the towel because these kids, I got these teenagers and they just be testing my inner gangster. As y'all know, they test my inner gangster. So sometimes after an hour, I wake up and be like, you know what? Somebody else can have this. Get somebody else to parent today, okay? But we can't do that as parents because we always got to, make sure that we're leading, guiding, and teaching our children. So, but tonight we're going to be talking about a hot topic that we don't really kind of talk about too much. You kind of hear this topic pretty much in the sports sector. You hear a lot of black men talking about their children more so in the sports arena, not necessarily like what it is to really kind of parent a child and have to parent a female and a male in this world right now as a black parent. I know my audience is wide, but I think this perspective will help everybody get an understanding of what we need to do for our children, the challenges that we face, and the thoughts that we have as parents of really trying to send our children out in this society. Now, I told y'all before, like, our job is to clothe our children, not to send them outside naked, because the world will dress them with whatever they feel that they look good in, right? Even though they look a hot mess in it, even though whatever they dress it with may even kill them, right? But we as parents, we have to know what to put on them, how to dress them, what tools to put inside of them so that they can really be successful. And success is whatever it means to you and your family. Success could be, listen, this is the first kid that's able to graduate high school on time, not conceiving, not making no babies, not none of that. Success could be, this is the first kid to go to college. Success could be, this is the first kid that bought a house. It doesn't matter. Whatever success is in your family, we want you to be able to be successful. So my guest tonight here is Jahi Ross, right? Welcome to the show. And what we're going to talk about is really parenting from the black father perspective. We hear a lot from the moms. You hear from me every week, right? But I'm very interested because, again, we as females, we as mothers, we can't teach our sons to be men, or we can raise our daughters, but we can't really teach our sons how to be a man in this world. And then fathers on the flip side can't teach their daughter how to be a daughter or a woman in this world. But I think that we have something valuable in raising both children, that they'll be able to be successful in life even though you're the opposite gender of that child. So let's talk about it.
Well, thank you for having me. And you smoked that in that intro. I think I'm here to interview you. But yeah, it's a pleasure. So thank you. So to start, yes, Jahi Ross. I do have two children, one boy, one girl. My daughter is 2 years old. My son will be 1 next month. So my hands are full. As far as the dynamic of having a boy and a girl, I'm blessed to have both, because I thought God would never give me a boy just based off of my trajectory of how I dealt with women in my life. But at the end of the day, He did. So the dynamic has been beautiful. I'm blessed. Since they're so small, the journey is really intricate. Everything that I'm putting in their hands and I'm having them watch, I'm having them do, like, they're soaking it up day by day. Mm-hmm. So that's just the kind of start, and I can see how it can translate later into their growth.
So give us a little bit about yourself, a little background about yourself.
28 years old. I'm a licensed barber in Delaware. Went to Delaware State University 2013 to 2017. After that, I worked a few odd jobs just trying to figure out life. Mm-hmm. And actually, I was working at UPS at the Philadelphia airport. Things didn't work out. UPS paid for me to go to barber school, like $5,000. I took that. I've been barbering for 4 years, like solely. So entrepreneurial. I've been doing the entrepreneurial thing. Besides that, investments, like small investments, crypto, working on getting into real estate, stuff like that. And that's kind of just what I've been focusing on right now, like having a solid foundation so I can actually build up and show my kids something different.
Okay. And you mentioned you went to Dell State. What did you go to Dell State for? What was your major?
I originally went into Dell State for business and administration and not really understanding what administration was. Me personally, I'm not an administrative person. So I'm glad, like, the reason why I ended up changing my major, I ended up changing into mass communications, PR and advertising. And I'm glad I did because I'm more of a connector.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more of like I can put people in position than just like sit back and like be stuck in a position. So I graduated with a communications degree in PR and advertising in 2017.
Oh, okay. Now, tell me a little bit about your background, how you grew up. Like, did you grow up in a both parents household, one parent? And then you got siblings. What was the dynamics of you growing up?
Well, I'm the oldest of 3 siblings on my mom's side. I'm the oldest of 3 siblings on my mom's side, and my mom pretty much raised me. I have one uncle, her brother, that pretty much like he took on the weight of being like a father figure for me. My mom was married once, and her husband was a father figure to me at the time. But after that, they got divorced, and it was just like boyfriend here, boyfriend there, and then I was always the man of the house. So oldest of three siblings, like I carried a lot of weight. My mom worked. Well, I can say this now, but my mom worked overnight for maybe 10 years. So
wow.
Maybe from the age of 11, 12, I would wake up, have to do my sister's hair to send her off to school. I would have to get my little brother dressed and make sure he was off to school. My brother had his father, but when he wasn't with his father or my mom was at work, it was me. So I pretty much got to learn how to handle children at a younger age.
Wow. I had a couple young men on here. They're about 20, 21. They've been on here. They'll be back on the show. And they were talking about being raised by a single mom, being kind of happened to, be the man of the house. Like, and they didn't, they was joking around, but they were just saying how strenuous it was and how they didn't even know because they're still kids, right? And still, even as the conversation we talked about earlier before we got on the show, talk about how to teach a young boy to be the man of the house, right? Because when you're not even the same gender as that person, but even they've learned, how to, take out trash and all these other things, and they just felt like the weight was so heavy. But it's interesting you said, like, this first time I heard somebody say that they had to do their sister's hair or something like that. Like,
was jacked up. Yeah. Little ponytails and all that, but yeah.
Wow. So let me ask you a question. When you were doing that at the time, like now we can look back and think about some stuff. We'll talk about your perspective about that looking back. But when you were in that position as a child, like what did you think? Did you like?
The biggest thing is like I'm not gonna say I didn't have time to think because I did, but I just thought it was like my job at the end of the day because it was me. It was always me and my mom. Mm-hmm. So once I had to understand like. These are my siblings. I come home from school, I gotta pick my little brother up. My sister's probably on her way home being dropped off by whoever she was being dropped off by. My mom, they get home to a certain amount of time. Maybe I could go with friends to the park, but I can't leave my siblings.
Right.
So it came to a point where they like on the tail with me.
Right.
So, I did like growing up, maybe when I was in high school, like I love basketball, but I could never play organized basketball until I got to high school. My mom couldn't afford to send me to like AAU programs or nothing like that. Mm-hmm. And I just never got the opportunity. So at one point in time, I did think that I was like, I didn't have as much as the next person, but I also realized that like my mom actually worked. We actually had food to eat. Like,
right.
Like, I remember thinking that like I never starved. Like I remember thinking like my life was so bad. Like I remember I put a knife to my wrist when I was like 14, and I was like, I'm not about to do this. Let me get my life together, like
right.
Because at that age, nothing is that bad. And
right.
I understood that at a young age, and I knew it wasn't going to last.
You felt the pressures of life, like at 14, like you said, like you pretty much was being a father, and then at that age, like you don't really have a concept of like different things, especially like how important this is or how important that is. You knew that you need to be able to take care of your siblings, but I like how you said it got heavy. You put the knife to your wrist. It was like, man, I'm not doing that. What made you say, man, I'm not doing that?
Because nothing's really that bad.
Right.
Like, if I'm not in a position where it's like somebody is pointing a weapon at me, like I had to control that moment. So why in the world would I do that? Like, not like disregard anybody's feelings who may be suicidal or, you know, needs help in that area. But for me in that moment, I knew like I got so much more to live for. Like, I think at that moment she might have had like, maybe I told me I couldn't go somewhere. Or,
right.
You know, she say no, you stuck around the house, you moping and stuff like that. It was one of those situations for me. But I snapped out of it quick. I'm like,
he was like, I'm not taking my own life. So when your dad came into, we talked about it a little bit. So what age were you when your dad came into your life?
So I met my father. It's an intricate situation. I met my father at the age of 16. My father sold drugs back in the day. He ended up getting deported back to Haiti, and he got deported illegally. So I think it was like 2015. No, it wasn't 2015. Maybe 2013, 14 or something like that. He had came back to the States just before the hurricane in Haiti had happened, and he was in Philadelphia. So we got connected. He came back, and we tried to mend a relationship. But my father comes from an intricate situation. Like, he never had nobody.
Right.
So he has other kids, but he's never had the relationship that like the relationship we have, because I'm older and I really always understood things. Like, even to this day, my dad called me and wished that he could do more. And at the end of the day, I'm grown, so I appreciate the fact that I can pick up the phone and I can call you. And if I pick up the phone and I call you, I don't want to hear you moping about what you can and can't do.
Right, yeah.
You picked up the phone, and that's all I wanted you to do, because at one point in my life, I never was able to pick up the phone and call my father.
Right.
So
I like that perspective, because, you know, we already know what the situation was, what happened. So now, how do we mend this? How do we grow from this? How do we move forward from it? Not necessarily all right, you wasn't there, okay, but you're here now. Right. So let's talk about what we can do. I think I love that, because it sounds like you got a lot of forgiveness in your heart, and I think sometimes we as parents, we get caught up on how we were parented, the things that we had and didn't have. And then we carry that to it becomes intergenerational, and we carry that to our own children. So it's like, it's crazy, because it's like either two sides of it, right? It's like the one side where you parent the way you were parenting, right? Where whatever lack you had, you start not really, because I think, I know for me, like growing up, I didn't like how I was parented, right? So I kept saying, when I get older, my kids are not going to do this, or I'm not going to do this for my kids. I'm not going to do that. And then you got some people who say that and end up doing exactly what their parents did to them, you know, because they didn't get any healing in that. They didn't get any forgiveness in that. So I like the fact that you're like, listen, all right, I don't need you moping about what you didn't do. I'm grown now. Like, you know, I tell this all the time. There's a quote that I say, like, we can't choose how we were raised, right? But we can choose how we raise ourselves as an adult. Like, there's no more excuses. Now, we're not devaluing anybody's feelings of what had happened to them, but at the end of the day, you grown now.
We can't stay there. Like, we have to, at the end of the day, we got to be appreciative for the time that we do have. So if you're here and we're able to connect, let's connect and move forward. We're not connecting to talk about what was before.
Right.
I don't personally have time for it. I don't. I'm raising my own. I have my own family to raise. Yes, I love my mother and my father, but the most intricate situation is my household.
Mm-hmm. So, how did the way you were parented, from, you know, not having a father, or even, you know, your mom, or even a stepdad, or anybody that was in your life, like, did that have a significant bearing on how you're raising your own children now?
No. Not 100%.
Okay.
For me, because I have a very strong, my fiance is a very strong woman. So I feel like the woman that I'm with today is probably the woman that I saw my mom be.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Like, naturally, I kind of take a seat back, because she's that kind of like more assertive parent. Mm-hmm. Like, you know how one is the good cop, bad cop.
Right.
I'm good cop.
Oh, you good cop? Most dads are good cop. Wait, are you good cop to your daughter and bad cop to your dad, like your son, or what? Cause you know y'all dads be doing this.
I'm a sucker for my daughter, for sure. But like, raising my son, he's so smart. small.
Right.
But like I'm still tough with him. But at the end of the day, like he knows, like, oh, if I'm fussing for too long, it's like, Dad, come here, I got you. So I don't even remember being that small with my mom and like us having a certain connectivity like that. Certain things to me that stuck from my mom is like the housely things. Like when she come in the house, the dishes better be done. So before I leave to go to work, the dishes is done because I can't say that I didn't try to take care of something before I left.
Right. Okay.
So I definitely picked up a lot of the household situations. Like I do the laundry in the house. I make sure the floor is clean. I make up the bed. Like that's just stuff that I have to do, and I picked that up from my mom the most. I mean, I'm stern when I can be. My kids are just too small to the point where I gotta put my foot down like that.
Right. Okay. Now, as you're parenting them now, like what thoughts, like what do you think about, all right, let's start with your daughter, right? Because, raising a black female in this world, raising anything black, a black dog, a black cat, black kids, like black on black, right? Raising anything black in this world is just like you gotta take a deep breath before you even think about going out the door, just anything. So I want to talk about your son and your daughter. But what concerns, like what is some of the things that you really want to make sure that you as a father instill in your daughter, for her to be successful? And what are the things that you kind of worry about or concerned about in raising a black female?
For my daughter, I think I just can't get it out of my head that how influential like social media is. Like I really have to put in her head, us as a unit, we have to put in our children's head that like social media is not everything that it appears to be.
Right.
And you don't have to live up to this standard. I'm torn because it's really social media or it's the music. And the music, especially with rap has always been bad. We've had Trina, we've had Lil' Kim, but it's like we also have Lauryn Hill and we also had Erykah Badu. So it's like we don't have no Erykah Badus like that today. Right. And even if we do, it's not in the forefront. So everything that they're projecting on people, period, it's like, the sexy red music, the whatever, like it's
and they think they sexy because she hears her name Sexy Red. So right.
It's just pushing a narrative towards, because kids intake music the most. Like right. The middle school, high school, those are the kids that's listening to that kind of music, and they're believing the narrative. And it's only like that with our culture, with black people, because we look at music and say, "Oh, I want to be a real ninja like he is," because he's toting a gun, and I can't tell that it's a prop gun. Or I can't tell the money that he has is fake money, or his jewelry is fake. It's just a certain standard that we have to set in the household so people can so our kids can understand, like, this isn't reality. It's social media for a reason. It's entertainment for a reason. Because white people look at our music and know that it's fake. But but black people, we like, nah, I'm trying to be like Kushaisty. I'm trying to be that. The whole time, it's agenda driven, and that's a whole nother story. But that's what I gotta, like, because the technology, I see it now. My daughter has a tablet, so she knows how to scroll and all that kind of stuff. She's deleting apps, downloading apps, like, so I know it's a time that's gonna come and say, oh, well, my friends be on TikTok, my friends be on Instagram, let me just download it and see what's going on.
Yeah. And I think, you brought a great point about, the music, because, when we were younger, probably you too, like the music that was around the house, like you heard all types of music, like it wasn't parents sitting up here listening to stuff like this. Like it wasn't parents listening to Trina. If they did, they didn't hear, like you didn't hear them, right? I know when I was younger, growing, a young adult, early parenting, I love some Lil' Kim. Like I could just quote, like, listen, Lil' Kim was my person, but I never had my kids listen to Lil' Kim. I never had my kids listen to Trina. But now it's parents who are listening to it. It's rocking in the house. So this is what I've seen. I don't know. You see on social media, you see these TikTok trends when these little kids. I saw the little girl. She had to be like 3 years old. She knew every Sexy Red song. I was so confused. I don't even know Sexy Red song. And she popping it, and her parents is in the background, like, yeah, go. And all the little kids around her dancing to Sexy Red, and they popping like I have no rhythm. These 3-year-olds got more rhythm than me. It's so concerning. I was like, yo.
That's my biggest fear when it comes to my daughter.
Yeah.
My biggest fear.
It's
that scares me the most. But I'm hands on. So if it even get like close to that, we nipping that in the bud.
Right.
We ain't even like entertaining none of that. We will listen to chill hop, gospel. I'll beat you in the head with it, but it's tough because like when they grow up, even if you do that, that's gonna push them in that direction even more. So the biggest thing that I noticed, even with my siblings, and they were like my biggest, not I want to say test dummies, but it was like I understood I gotta handle them a different way.
Mm-hmm.
So implementing in my kids feel it the most when you're not even mad at them, when you're disappointed.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I know you know better than that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
I didn't have to be here for you to make a better decision. Like, I feel like that resonates even more. So that's my tactic as my kids grow up, because when it was given to me, I only got that from people in school. Like my teachers who really understood that I was like, they saw beyond what was on my exterior. I used to be a really mad, frustrated kid. But it was always like, come on, Jahi, you was in school suspension for doing that. Come on, man. You know you don't be walking out of class. You don't be talking to teachers like that.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't believe you. So I feel like that's more of the angle.
Yeah, I feel like I know even as they get older, like you said, once you put in that foundation down, kids, they get around other people, other peers, and they start. But I think that if we give them the tools and we dress them, we give them what they need. Like they may go off a little bit, but then they come back. Because I know, like when I deal with my girl, I hear the music sometimes with my girls. Matter of fact, it was a couple years ago. Beyonce came out with a song. What was it? It was teaching church girls, that song Church Girls, right? And it was basically in the song, like somebody brought it to my attention, so I was listening to it. And in the song, it was basically teaching girls how to be a hoe, honestly, if you listen to the lyrics. Yeah. When you listen to the lyrics, and it was talking about, she didn't want to, like, everything that a church girl is, she's going to do the opposite of. It was kind of like rebellion, right? But it was talking about how you identify somebody with the money and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. The whole song really creeped me. I was so upset. I'm like, are we serious? This is what we have out here? And one of my daughters is a huge Beyonce fan, right? But it was so crazy because when I brought it to their attention, I said, yo, y'all listen to this song? Did y'all hear this song? They said, yeah, we don't listen to that. And I was like, why not? They was like, did you hear them lyrics? And I felt like a proud mom because, like, they was like, because I knew she was a Beyonce fan, but the fact that this song was so wrong and she knew it, she was like, Mom, don't play the song in this house. Because I turned it up. Because I'm like, we're going to talk about this song right here. Because I know that you guys are teenagers, you have friends, like, y'all listen to stuff like this. But to hear her say, like, man, turn that off in our house. We don't listen to that. And I was like, oh, you just saying that for me? Right. But I actually can see and hear what they listening to. Mm-hmm. So, they use my TV. They got the Spotify on my TV. They have the Amazon Music. I can hear what their playlist is. Mm-hmm. And to hear that some of that crazy stuff that I thought that they might be listening to, they not even listening to. Right. So I think, like you said, foundationally, if we teach them, like, it might seem like we beating them in the head with good music and stuff like that, but some of that stuff, the words, those lyrics really carry our kids. Because some of that stuff carried me, And I think like one of my one that's about to be 18, she loves Lauryn Hill, she loves Ledisi, like those people like that. I mean, don't get me wrong. Every now and then she will listen to some music, while she cleaning, trying to pump herself up to keep it moving. But the foundation of it is so important. So I like that what you said, like really trying for our daughters, because there's so many things our daughters can get into, I know in the state of Delaware, like sex trafficking is like top tier. Like that is the number one. There's so many children. We have one of the highest rate for being a small state of sex trafficking kids. Yeah. I mean, a couple years ago, they found like 18-wheeler trucks down in Lower Delaware. Seriously. And you see it over and over again. So one of the things, as a pediatric nurse, what they have us do is, looking out for the signs and stuff. Mm-hmm. Kids, coming in, different things. But yeah, so it's not even like, all right, social media is being used to get our kids to do different things. So outside of the music, right? So then we got to worry about them meeting somebody on there, playing with them, acting catfishing. I think, do they still call it catfish? Thinking that they something. I had we're gonna get on your son, but I had a situation that I had came upon, like just being working in pediatrics, right? So there was a young lady, and I think I said it on the show before. She was friends with this boy. They was like 13 years old. But it wasn't like the parents, the mom, she's a single mom. The mom knew the young man. She thought he was a very respectful young man, very nice. And the girl, they wasn't dating or anything. They were just really cool friends. Like, and she didn't tell her mom that she was going to his house after school, right? Because, you know, kids like to be sneaky. So for whatever reason, she was going, but she didn't tell her mom, and they usually communicate. She didn't tell her mom she was going to his house. She went to his house. They in there busting it up. He go in the kitchen, get something to drink. The dad pops out the closet. The dad pops out the closet, and now this girl is his girl. 13 years old, end up living in hotels, having 2 kids by this man. So basically, his son groomed her, like, you know, and I'm just like, and our kids think they know everything and not understanding, like, how important communication is, even with your parents. Like, I have tracker devices on my kids, you know, on the phone. That's what I love about technology. Like, you can see where they are, location. But just those small things like that, because people are out here seeking these girls to do whatever they want to do with them. And that was just an example. And I showed my daughters. I told them, I said, listen, this is what happened. And they was like, well, I wouldn't be dumb enough to go to his house. No, if that's your friend, you going to his house, why are you playing? But just situations like that, it's like, we got to worry about the music. We got to worry about somebody taking them, trafficking them, killing them, taking their organs. We got to think about so much with these girls that it's kind of like, you got to keep them real close to you, but not too close where they want to rebel against you. You know what I mean? That's the tough balance. I guess it's just being a parent. Yeah, the parent is like, because you got to make unpopular decisions. You know, like I tell you, a parent it's not for the weak. I'm telling you, got to be strong. You better get a team. You better get a village behind you. You know, these football players don't play by themselves. They don't go on the field by themselves, do they? The basketball players don't go in the game by themselves. Why? Because you need a team behind you. Because yes. So let's talk about your son. Let's talk about what you want to make sure you instill in him, and then the things that you may be concerned about growing up, as raising him as a young black male.
So, for my son, he has to learn how to be a gentleman first. Like, for me, I was raised by pretty much women, like aunts, my mom, grandma. So knowing how to, like, treat women respectfully, knowing how to, like, carry yourself with respect. I feel like that you knowing how to treat a woman in turn teaches you how you should be treated. You know
Oh, talk about that a little bit. Break that down.
Just because when you know how to just do the small things, like, I learned how to hold the door at a young age.
Mm-hmm.
So certain women, like, when I was in college, I held the door for my fiance, and she was like, "What you doing? You trying to look at my butt?" But she's from a whole different place.
Right.
So she's from New York. So it's like, if you set a certain kind of standard, a woman identifies like, oh, he's completely different. Mm-hmm. So I have to address him as being different.
Right.
So that's like, I had to learn that, like, being older, but like, it separates you from a whole group. So that's what I have to teach my son first and foremost. Like, respect women, and obviously respect yourself first. But that's like the key. It's kind of like the key to life. Like, just be honest, be respectful. Sometimes you gotta know when to mind your business, who to stay away from. Pay attention to the signs.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's that kind of stuff.
Oh, wait, why are you talking there? Let me ask you a question, because I ran into a parent with this situation. So she has a boy, right? And they live in a city, not, you know, they live in Philadelphia, right? Mm-hmm. And, you know, Philly hard, right? And her son, I think he probably like 12 now, and he was in school. And these girls be picking on him, whatever. Like, these girls, they bigger than him, they tough or whatever, and they would do different things to him. And this particular day, even though this girl never picked on him, so he's sitting in the classroom, right? And the girl, she hit him. Didn't hit him hard, hit him, right? He wailed on her. He got up and wailed on her, right? So there was a discussion like, yo, why was that okay for him to do that? The teacher was in the class and her back was turned, but he never yelled out help for the teacher. He never said anything, teacher. And then the mom saying, listen, she shouldn't have hit him. But I'm like, he's a dude. So my sister and I had this conversation because my sister's big on, boys don't be hitting girls. Like, period. You tell somebody, you don't know your strength, you don't know all that. So what do you think about, like, if your son is in a situation and a girl hits him, what would you teach your son to do? Versus, it's kind of like the mom was like, well, I don't want them think that they could be hitting on him. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm like, well, I understand that. But for me, I would have been like, yo, tell the teacher, yo, get this girl off of me, do something. That's not the way. Yeah, so what would you what would you tell your son? Like,
the biggest thing is, no matter who it is, like, you can't swing it until your back is against the wall.
Okay.
So I'm not personally big on, like, the telling thing, but it's like, if you in school, we're not in the streets, so, like, it's a way to do it. It's a way to handle everything. Mm-hmm. So if you get to the point where you bottled up, like, it can't even get there because naturally we are like we're emotional people. People are emotional. Period. So you gotta speak up for yourself. So you have to, like, you can't put your hands on it.
I think because one of the concerns we had is that as he grow and a woman does something, he going to jail. He might go to jail for life. He might even kill it because you don't know your own power. Men they're stronger than women. And, that's we out here working out. There's
how old was he?
12. Yeah, because then the school threatened to say they're gonna send him away to a school, and they want to send our black boys away anyway. So they was like, they want to send him away, and we just like, well, no, let's have a conversation. But it doesn't help if the parents like, yo, if somebody hit him, he gonna hit him, because then now you're sending everybody parent different. But I'm just concerned about what are we teaching our boys, even as far as like when you said being a gentleman, being respectful and kind. So what if somebody's not respectful and kind to you? What and you're in that position, like, what would you tell your son to do? Like,
so if I'm personally, going back to the situation, did that young man have, like, both his parents? Or is it just his mom?
His father is in jail.
So that's a problem in itself, because being raised by a woman, I understood that, and it took me later to understand that I was overly emotional. Like, women are just emotional, period. But being raised by one is different because it's kind of subconsciously you inherit these kind of emotions and then you internalize them. Mm-hmm. So partially that's kind of the issue and for him. But restate the question again. So I can just go back again.
So what would you tell your son? Like, if he's in that situation, you're a young black male. If a female hits you, what do? You gotta call somebody. Like, all right, you alert the people, and then when it's in due time, you need to call your parent, because we need to have a conversation with everybody. Right.
Like, no, this isn't happening. You need to pinpoint everybody who's giving you a problem, and that's how you alleviate problems. Like, when I was in 8th grade, my mom came to school with me for a whole day because it was bad. Like, I almost got kicked out of school in 8th grade. But my mom had to come and get some understanding, like, who's giving you an issue in here? And it wasn't like she had to say nothing. She just gave people that look. Like,
that mom look.
Like, I've never seen you hang out with my son outside of school, so who are you? Are you, like, a part of the influence? And just being that hands-on with me, like, people understood, like, oh, I can't play with Jahi because his mom's going to come up to school and I don't even know what she's going to do with me. Right. Nobody's mom did that ever with me being in school, ever. So, like, people knew, like, nah, don't really play with him like that. Even going to high school, like, yo, he when I came to school the whole day, like, she sat at lunch, like,
yeah.
So you, as a parent, I know it'd be tough because, like, we still gotta work. It's the other stuff we gotta do. But when it comes to the babies, you gotta put everything to the side. My son called me and said, "Dad, I'm having an issue. I'm coming to the school."
Right.
I don't care what it is. It can wait till I get home. No.
Right.
He got in an altercation, so the parents probably gonna have to come regardless. But it's just.
Yeah, she had to take him back to school, and when she took him back to school, they basically was kind of telling her, like, this type of behavior would get the child get put away. And she couldn't understand that. She like, listen, this person, I'm supposed to let my son get hit on it. And I was trying to say, no, you just got to handle things a different way. Especially if there's an adult right there. Like, I'm telling you, I said, yo, he should have been like, yo, get this chick off of me. Do like whatever you got to do to get the attention of the adult in the room. Because now you looking at, like, they're looking at you like your daughter, right? Say your daughter hit a young man and he wails on her. You coming up to the school, like, where's the boy that took, you know what I mean? Like, you gotta see both sides. I see both sides of it. Like, there's a bigger issue. First of all, why your daughter think she can go around hitting people? That's the first thing. Second of all, why do you think that your son is okay to hit her back to the point where, like, you know, I don't know. So let's go back to that respect and kindness and stuff about your son, because that whole situation had me twisted. And I'm still like, because at one point, you raise them, don't let people respect yourself, make people respect you, right? So then it's like, if you letting somebody hit you, are you respecting yourself? But at the same time, it's like, she a girl, like, why would you?
Well, in that situation, like I said, like, you're not gonna in the moment. Yeah, she might put her hands on you, but it's that situation isn't over with. Like, oh, you put your hands on me, that, like, I got you. Don't worry about it. And sometimes, like, as a kid, it's different. Like, you emotionally bottled up. You don't know how to handle certain things. So, yeah, you say something to the teacher. Sometimes that's not even enough. So maybe he said something to the teacher already. Because maybe they like him because that's how kids play and stuff like that. Right. But it might have just been an off day for him. Right. He was like, man, listen, I ain't for it. So I can't even say his reaction was wrong. I can't even say, like, the girl was playing too much or anything like that, because
you just never know what somebody's dealing with.
Yeah, you don't. And you never know if that girl had a crush on him and he just wasn't feeling it that day. Maybe next week they could be on the same type.
Right,
of
right.
That's
okay,
how kids
yeah.
are. But if you really bothered by it, like, we gotta find a way to teach our boys that you can't do that because you're gonna be in the wrong no matter what.
No matter what. That's the thing I was trying to point out. Like, listen, do you know how bad that looks?
You're gonna be wrong no matter what.
Right. So what else you want to talk to your son about? Like, so we talked about teaching him how to respect, kind,
Yeah. Just be aware of your surroundings, man. Like, for me, I tend to be a little bit more vocal than I would. A little bit, yeah. I'm a little bit more vocal than I would like to be. Like, sometimes you gotta just sit back and read the room. Sometimes you just gotta peep the energy. Sometimes I'm so much of the energy that, like, I could be like, somebody could be in the corner paying me all the attention, but they might have some ulterior motives, or they might feel a way about me, or, like, I never get a full understanding of, like, maybe who this person is, or why are they here, like, or what purpose do they serve, or, like, so for my son, you have to, like, know. Like, you kind of have to know when it's your time to, like, to speak and do. Like, so you just gotta sit back. Like, I want to teach him, like, temperament, like,
right,
meditation, like,
yo, that's not even words we hear from our Black community, though. Listen, temperament, meditation, focus, prayer. Like, we don't hear that. I feel like the narrative for our Black boys is be rough and tough. Hold your own, play a sport. And you're sitting here saying, read the room, some meditation, internalize some things, see what's going on. I think that is so important, because definitely if we want to change the narrative of our young Black boys of being, the color Black is aggressive. Right. So if we start, from the gate, as soon as you see me, you think I'm aggressive. But once you get to know me and you see that I'm different, that changes the whole thing. So we want people to not see us as aggressive because of our behaviors, right. So I like that. I think that I think we don't have enough of that.
So to go back to what you said, like, people, like, kind of push sports and all that other kind of stuff on you, because as men, we want to be big and brolic and strong. But in turn, the opposite of that is we're neglecting our internal, like, what's really inside of us, who are as people, like, and that makes us make certain decisions, like feeding what the flesh wants instead of what you know your mind really needs.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, like, yeah, my son, like, I give him basketballs and all that kind of stuff like that, just because he's small, he can only grasp us so much. But growing up, that it has to be about center focus, knowing who you are, understanding, like, I don't always have to be a part of something. I'm a connector. I'm a starter. Stuff starts with me, not the other way around. But you also have to understand your environment to know when it's time to kick it on.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I like that. I think we need to have more conversations as part of like teaching our boys, you know, the inner self, you know, meditation and things like that to really be at peace though. Cause that's really, you know, teaching them how to be at peace because there's so many things going on. And I think that if we started from a young age, that the things that the world attacks our kids with, like they'll be able to sustain it because they've already been built. They have the tools to be able, you know, because again, Black people are looked at so aggressively, you know, even for a young lady, if you start to speak your opinion or something, they're looking at you, oh, you being aggressive, not, oh, you're just standing up for yourself. Right. So really being able to teach them, because when all these, you know, blades hit you, you be like, Blade, able to knock it off because I am at peace myself. I am at rest. I know who I am. And I think so many times, we as parents, you know, we don't really kind of teach kids who they are uniquely. We teach them how we want them to be. You know, it's not like we like, all right, let's see what you got. You're a flower, you're unfolding. We're literally putting all this stuff on our kids because we either one, we didn't do it when we were younger, or two, we parenting out of fear because we don't want you to get into some stuff. And then we don't really value the fact that our children have opinions and they grow, and we really kind of need to nurture them because I think it's so more fearful of let them be who they are because it's almost like we don't trust that they're going to get to where they got to go. But as parents, we got to do that. We got to really let them be centered and inner. You know, my daughter said something to me. Coming home, and this is because this is how I was raised, though. You get home, you got chores to do. As soon as you get home, you got chores to do before you do anything for yourself. My daughter, time after time, the one that tests my inner gangster, y'all know who she is, the one that's very woke, because she tests my inner gangster. She said to me, Mom, I was at school all day. I did all this. I want to come home and relax for a second before I do a chore. Right. And I'm like, no, them chores better be done by the time I get home. What you talking about? Relax. But I'm like, relax. You relaxed on the bus. What you talking about? But for her, she need that quiet time. And I'm like, you relaxing, but you listening to music. But, you know, I'm being real. This is how I be sometimes. But she really had to, like, as she kept saying it, and I started to seek to understand versus understood. Like, I am type parent. In the beginning, I was like, it's what I say. I said what I said. But now listening and understanding, like, she like, listen, when I get in the house, I need at least 30 to 45 minutes. I'm like, what? 30 to 45 minutes? But now I know for her to be, because if not, there's going to be a back and forth. Right. Because she didn't get that quiet time to herself. Because I'm like, you on the bus, you had enough, but you got kids and other teenagers or whatever, and you walk from the bus stop. When you get in the house, you just want to sit down for a second. And I thought about it. As a parent, that's what I want to do. When I get in from school or work or whatever, I got decompressed. Most of the time, I sit in the car for a couple minutes before I even go in the house to my kids. But I'm like, if we're requesting that for ourselves, why can't we respect our children and request that for them? Because we have these rules and regulations. You better clean this house, you better do this, but not really understanding the things that they went through at school as well. Yeah. So parent them for who they are, not who we intend for them to be. Like, we could have hopes and dreams for our kids, but what are they dreaming? What are they hoping? I think it's so important. And it took over time to learn that, because I was one of those parents that micromanage, you do this, you do that. And now my kids are teenagers and they're trying to do things on their own. I'm like, no, you don't do it that way. But because I've done everything for them. Right. And now I'm like, hold up. So I think it's so important to make sure that from a young age that we're allowing them to grow into something, not necessarily just start throwing all this stuff on them.
It's so tough because, like, when do you know, or at what age do you know, like, all right, maybe it's time for me to let up a little bit and see what kind of decisions they're going to make, or what are their interests, or are they going to take this kind of leap of faith? Like,
it's hard. It's hard. That's why I said it's a hard now life for parents.
It's different, and I know development is different. Like,
Right.
I know I had to develop and grow at a younger age. So opposed to like my younger sister was 9 years younger than me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, when do you know? Like it's certain. I guess maybe it's just like it depends on the child.
Yeah, it is a relationship. So it's really building a relationship with your children so that you know each child. Because I have 4, so all of them different. Some challenge me more than others, but like knowing your child, knowing with that relationship of how you should deal with them. And I straight up was like, I was having a hard time with parents, and I said, God, these your kids, tell me what to do. I took a Moses, like I took a Moses step. Listen, Lord, listen, it's me standing in need of prayer. Now, I'm not trying to go to jail. I don't think they want to go to jail. Something, the pressure cooker is cooking.
Right.
These your kids, tell me how to teach them, lead them, and guide them, because it's hard. And I don't have all the answers. I'm not a perfect parent. I don't know. So honestly, each child taught me how to deal with another child. Like my oldest daughter, the things that she said to me, parenting, I got married at 19, had a kid, had all this, but I still parent her a way where I wanted her to be better than me. Like I was pushing, I'm in school, I'm doing this, that, and the other, and I wanted her to be better, but I was so hard on her and had like this picket fence lifestyle. And when she told me, Mom, you live a porcelain lifestyle, I'm finna, what, who porcelain? Imagine that. Yeah, so I had to go look up what porcelain. I had to go deep down into, like, in my mind, I knew what porcelain was, but I really needed to go deeper to understand what she was saying, and it was so true. I thought I had it all together, everything looking at a certain part, but deep down inside, there was still some trouble there, and without addressing that, you don't grow. So I knew not to do that with my younger kids now because of what she taught me. So I think parents is not just we teaching our kids; they teach us so much.
Right, absolutely. What would you say, like, especially like with like 1 and 2 years old, like, what was like some of your biggest challenges when raising like little small children?
Man, so it's funny. My sister and I talk about it because my niece just turned 1 year old. So, and these kids, you probably can attest to, they come out with their personalities already. It's all from the door. But I do remember, a situation where my daughter was like 1 or 2. And, kids, they don't really know much. They just know what you show them, or they don't really know how to respond to things. You teach them how to respond to stuff, right? So, and sometimes they just be crying for nothing. They just snap out because they don't know. Everything is going on in their brain. And I remember I was so frustrated of just life. And then she's screaming. She was probably like 18 months. And I'm like, she fed, her diaper changed, everything. She was just having a good time. And then she was just screaming nonstop. What is going on? Like, she wouldn't go to sleep. What was going on? And as a parent, I was just like so frustrated. And I called the doctor and I was like, listen, I don't know what's wrong with this kid. Like, what you want me to do? And what she said to me was, put her in her crib, close the door, and walk away. And that's what I encourage every parent in this young age. They're going to be fine. Make sure they're safe, but you need to walk away, because I see, as a pediatric nurse, I see so many kids with shaken baby syndrome. I see so many kids where parents did certain things to them because of frustration, because the kids are growing and developing, right? They don't know. They got all these neurons and stuff, like impulses and all these things, that they don't know how to console themselves at times. So sometimes we have adult temper tantrums. So, these kids this age just really walking away, taking a deep breath, and come back and love on that kid and nurture that kid. Yeah. They gonna be fine. Like my niece right now, the 1 year old, like she be having temper tantrums. I said, leave her alone. Right. Walk away. Right. Because I've seen so much as a pediatric nurse of shaking babies, and I can see how it happens though. Your kids, they go off, they screaming, they're in the room. You like, I done did everything I possibly could for this kid. Let me just stop crying. This is what they do. Stop crying. And they're shaking them and not really understanding how their brain is shaking in their skull. And then you got these kids that are paralyzed or dead. And you in jail and you love your kid. You love your kid. You ain't mean to do nothing to your kid, but you were so frustrated that happened. So I always encourage parents of small kids, walk away. Walk away.
They actually tell you that in the hospital too. Like,
yeah, you have to.
And them thousands of pages of stuff. You
gotta walk away. And then I think also just understand. I think every parent should research child development. Because you'll know certain things that they'll do at certain ages. Yeah. And you won't be too hard on your kid to do certain things. Like, it trips me out that people trying to potty train kids at 1 year old. The brain doesn't even operate like that. You don't even get that feeling down there yet. So, and then I see them spanking them if you pee on yourself. Like, it's crazy stuff that I see in pediatrics. It's like, if you really understood, like, a lot of my stuff is educating parents on growth and development. Like, at this age, this is what they're supposed to be doing. At that age, that's supposed to be doing. If they do this, if they like food one day and tomorrow they don't like it, that's okay. That's what they're trying to figure out. So sometimes at an early age, we're trying to, like, we're trying to mold and shape our kids, but at the same time, we still got to let them be themselves. We got to let them figure it out. It's okay for your kid to sit down and play with some food, like texture and stuff like that. So I think at this age, really just be an example in front of them. And our response to them, because how we respond is how they're going to respond. So if you're responding aggressive and negative and nasty, best believe they're going to be aggressive and nasty. They're going to be like 3 years old and they knocking people out. And you're like, well, what happened? So basically, that's like the biggest challenge. And I always offer parents, you should really learn growth and development. As your child is growing, you're growing, and you really need to know the things that you need to know for their kids so that you don't put too much on them, stress them out. And then you also can see some signs and symptoms of something that may be off a little bit at an early age, because the earlier you get help for your kids, the better outcome we have for them.
They have that like kind of checklist, like when you go to the doctors, that's like, I try my biggest, like my hardest not to miss like no doctor's appointments, nothing like that, because that's when they go through checklist, development, and what kind of shots that they give. Where are they? Do they recognize letters? Are they standing up on their own? Like it'd be the small stuff at a certain age, and we was so worried about my daughter because she didn't start walking until maybe she was 14 months.
Mm-hmm. What's wrong with this girl?
What's going on with her? But she came around, and now we can't stop her. So
I think, letting our kids grow, because really understanding, like, you're really not going to tell if something really developmentally is off of them until about 18 months. Okay. So everything, you got to give them time. Like, for example, like, if a kid's walking at 10 months, they might be lacking in another area because they're now concentrating on walking. So really kind of just watching them grow and allowing them to grow and see what they're going to do. But still teaching them things, fundamental things, but really allowing them to grow and see what they're going to do. There's so many times parents come in, kid 1 year old, they not doing this thing. I'm like, well, they not technically supposed to be doing it. Right. Well, my other daughter did this. Well, that was your other daughter, Just so I think really researching and being intentional about parenting really helps us be able to really navigate parenting at another level and giving our kids as much as possible so that they can succeed, and not giving them too much so they can succeed, So that's what I tell anybody who's raising young kids, like, be intentional, be example, and research what you're supposed to be doing for these kids, Not like living an autopilot life. Oh, I got these kids, they going, no. Let's be intentional. Let's figure out how we're going to make this successful. Listen, you and your fiance have a vision for your household. This is the vision. This is where we expect our kids to go. So now we got to work towards how we're going to accomplish that. And that's pretty much I tell people. And like you said, take the time, meditate. You got to do it. All right, so we're closing up here because this has been a great conversation. So what would you tell parents of raising, what would you tell other fathers, maybe how to step up or how to, be centered in different things? What would you tell fathers who are looking here and they're raising their black sons and daughters? Like, what would you have for them?
I would say, man, be patient. You gotta pray, and you have to make time. You have to make time for yourself, like, because as men, we don't always get like the outlets. Like I work in a barbershop, so it's different. So we in there and guys tell all books in the barbershop. But anywhere else you don't really give yourself enough time to even think or understand your thoughts. So that be patient with your children, be patient with yourself, and that goes hand in hand with prayer. Like people be feeling like oh, you gotta be like the most God fearing person, or you gotta be in church every week. Like it literally be like conversations with yourself. Address God because God is real. Like I feel like if you here on this earth you have a purpose, if you believe you have a purpose, you have to believe in God. You have to believe in something. So you have to like humble yourself a little bit to pray over yourself and your family. And you didn't even know this, but I had watched the episode that you were on with Bishop Lane. It was like something prayer, something y'all were talking about prayer and how the man should lead prayer for his family. Ever since I saw that, I led prayer for my family.
Oh wow!
Like it's necessary, and not even talking about like the level of respect that I get from my fiance, but like it's me standing up and making sure I'm in control of guarding my household. Right. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I prayed the most, like I was raised in the church and all that kind of stuff. But me praying over my family, over our health, or whatever way we may be going through, praying over my fiance before she leaves the door, or praying over my kids while they're asleep. Like it be the smallest things, but like it add up because God is real. Gonna take care of you as long as you do right by him, but don't be just calling on that man when you need something.
But I think that it's so important, like, you know, that I like that you said that because, you know, prayer in a relationship with God is so, because I always ask people, what are you measuring your standard up to if you ain't measuring up to God? Like, you know, if you don't know God or have a relationship with God, what's your foundation? Right. So I like that. I definitely think that prayer is always, like I said, I ask God, what you want me to do with these kids? Like, show me, teach me, guide me. So I think that is so important. That's the foundation, and, you know, and just having a great relationship with God because, you know, honestly, our kids are His, and God don't have no grandkids. That our kids are His kids. So I think that's important.
Oh, but I gotta really emphasize in making time for yourself because like recently. Like I just started going back to the gym. I've been playing basketball a few days a week just because it may be time. If I'm giving so much to everybody else, I'm naturally neglecting myself. I'm naturally getting fat. I'm slower. I'm eating too much. But you have to like at least sit in a quiet room and think. Like write your thoughts down. Express how you felt this day. Express how you may feel the next day. Get those ideas or those thoughts, however you may feel about yourself. You have to work on your read. You have to work on yourself.
I like that. So there you have it. Take care of yourself because you can't give from an empty cup. You got to take care of yourself, replenish yourself as you're giving out to your kids and your family or whatever, because men have a big role. And women have a role too, but I think self-care is so important. It ain't even got to be $1 million. Like you said, going to the gym. I like going to the gym now. It's so important. I sleep better.
Absolutely. You want to sleep forever.
Yeah. So thank you again for coming to the show. Probably have you back again because I think this conversation was needed. It was good. Just getting a perspective, you know, the thoughts and concerns that we have about raising our kids and what's so important as parents to put into ourselves so that we now can pour out to our kids. So thank you so much for coming to the show. As you know, this is Parenting with a Purpose. I am your host, Donna Janelle, where I strive to bring back the responsibility, nobility, and beauty back into parenting. And as you know, parents are our bows and our children are arrows, and they will land wherever we send them. May not be today, may not be tomorrow. But as long as we dress our kids properly, we don't have to worry about the world dressing them. Have a great night.